Hey guys, RavenofAsh here, and welcome to the first episode of One-on-One with Raven. I would like to thank all of you that have submitted your clips. I will use some of them for the next episodes. Also, thank you guys for the support I've received after my last video where I told you guys about the concept for this series. Special thanks to Saint Riot for the shout out on the stream. I will do my best for this series to be informative and useful for the ones submitting the clips as well as for the invader community. Also, feel free to keep sending clips. Read the description on how to send me your clips. Now, without further ado, let's get to it. In this first episode, I'm going to take a look at 3 clips. The first 2 invasions are relatively quick and the third one is a bit lengthier. The first 2 invasions were submitted by Spill. He told me that he was having trouble fighting multiple opponents and managing his stamina. He has a soul level 90 strength build and he's using Yorms with a low Poise build. The truth is that Yorms, like most great axes, is weak against several opponents because it can only do vertical swings. However, it's one of the longest weapons in the game, so it's very good for outspacing single opponents. A long time ago I used a similar setup for some time. I didn't know the following. Yorms is one of the few weapons in the game that does not consistently combo its R1 into other R1s, either two-handing it or one-handing it on the main hand. This is a big problem. Weirdly enough, if you use Yorms in the offhand, the R1 will combo into another R1. Pair it with a straight sword and you will have a very cool and strong build. Also, Spill's build doesn't have a lot of poise. I will address these issues on the build analysis part of the video. Back to the invasion. At this time I would have either surprised the party with a plunging attack and or swap the obscuring and silvercat rings for something more useful in combat. Now Spill goes for the green blossom and that's a good idea with Yorms. Yorms wastes a lot of stamina. And you see here, the R1s didn't combo. So now he gets a little bit injured and now he goes to heal, and this is not a good healing distance. He should have run for a little while and then healed, and then he rolls into 2 straight swords. So this is not like a really big mistake. This happens, but it's really important to know the distances that allow for safe healing. The second invasion, Spill is again pitted against 2 opponents, and we cannot see it here because he's playing with the HUD off. But he's still wearing the silvercat ring, and this is something important. As an invader, it is up to you to decide when, where and how to engage the party. So a lot of times when I spot the party, I stop and change all my rings up and prepare for the fight. Here is where Spill loses the fight. This was actually a pretty good turn and burn. However, Spill gets staggered. This is merely a lack of poise problem, and thus it's a build problem. If he poised through the great sword, they wouldn't be able to hit him a second time. Then they hit Spill a second time because a great sword and an axe swing faster than a great axe. So Spill should have rolled back after getting staggered. It's a split second decision though, so it's no biggie. For me the biggest problem Spill faced was his own build. This was the build Spill was using, and this is an improved version of that build, in my opinion of course. Yorms now stays in the offhand where you can combo the 2 R1s, and for better range, as Yorms moveset one-handed has greater range than two-handed. The heavy infused longsword is on the main hand, as it scales very well with strength, allows for the stance weapon art to guard break shields, and it's useful for roll catching and hit opponents if they get very close. Poise sits at a cool 35.82 and much better absorption. At this poise, Yorms can swing without getting poise broken to everything lighter than an ultra great weapon and through one swing of an ultra great sword or a great axe. Vigor is a bit lower than on Spill's build, but because of the Ring of Favor plus 3 you end up having more HP. Endurance is also a good deal greater than Spill's build, because of Ring of Favor plus 3 bypassing the semi-hard cap of 40 endurance. I think you will have a lot of fun with this build should you decide to try it. I did a similar build a while ago and I had a lot of fun with it. Tarrantier kindly sent me his video submission. He is invading in Erythril with the Poise build at soul level 56 with plus 6 weapons. His weapon loadout is the War Pick and the Straight Sword. There was a lot of things Tarrantier did well in this invasion, and some where I think he can improve. He has 6 Estes, I don't know if he has any blue juice, at +8. As for rings, he's using Tarrantier, Prisoner's Chain, Havels and Leos. He's facing a team of 3 players. Now he immediately goes after the Phantom and he uses the built-in roll catch combo that axes and hammers both share. The host is using a Farron Greatsword, and a Farron Greatsword is very dangerous because of its stun lock potential. Almost every time that he faced real difficulty in this invasion was because of the Farron and the fact that it stun locks you to hell, allowing the other members of the party to gang up on you. So he went a little bit too aggressive, and now he's hurt and he retreats to the level, which is a good play. It's the necessary play. Now he becomes too aggressive again and he gets out of stamina and he gets punished for it again. A good idea here, because he's using the War Pick, is to use the Galvanized Weapon Art. Now the Galvanized Weapon Art is the strongest stamina regen thing in the game. It regenerates stamina faster than the Tarrantier Ring, the Grass Crest Shield or Green Blossoms. So it's a good idea to keep using it. As Tarrantier is using the War Pick as its main weapon, it's important to talk a little bit about it. All the War Pick's attacks do thrust damage, and so it synergizes very well with the Leo Ring. This is why Tarrantier is using it. The War Pick really shines in 1v1 battles, as its range is quite bad and its swing is vertical, making it harder to hit several opponents with its two-handed swing. The War Pick also has Hyper Armor on its two-handed R1s. However, its Hyper Armor is very weak, making you stack a lot of poise to go through heavier weapons such as Greatswords and Ultras. What it does really well is to poise through non-Hyper Armor weapons, such as straight swords, axes, spears, etc. The rule of thumb, I won't use a hammer against Hyper Armor weapons ever, preferring to use a weapon that requires me to stack less poise to poise through heavier weapons, like an Ultra Greatsword. By engaging the party with only the War Pick, Tarrantier is making this invasion much harder than it needs to be. I will further address this issue in my build analysis at the end of the clip. Now the party doesn't want to go through the level, and probably I would use a great bow or a crossbow to force them to go through the level. So at this time the party flanks Tarrantier, and the Farron Greatsword starts stun locking him. Fortunately the Fire Witches intervene, but now it would be a good time to reposition yourself and put the party in front of you, and you're back through the level. But he overstays a little bit and he's being too aggressive. These are the kinds of events that can end an invasion very quickly, especially at higher soul levels. Now one thing that I haven't mentioned is that the Estus Flask is at a +8 upgrade. Now of course the Estus Flask would heal more at +10, but at +8 it heals for almost as much as at +10. Like you can see in this table right here. So if you are unwilling to get the +10 upgrade, know that you will not be losing a lot or as much as you might think. So at this point in the invasion, the party decides to retreat. They are probably getting low on Estus. Tarrantier has been doing quite a lot of damage to them, and now he managed to kill one of the Phantoms. One other thing that could be improved upon is the use of resins to buff up your AR a little bit. Also, Tarrantier asked me about how to chase down Phantoms that are not panic rolling. Well, then the idea is to make them panic roll. How can you do this? First of all, if you're using the War Pick, I would buff up my stamina regen with Galvanized. The idea is to make him guess when you're going to attack. So in here, for example, when you are in range you are attacking, and so they know that when they see the animation they can roll on reaction. The idea is to make them guess, and if you stay on their face and for example use the L1 wiggle, or if you use a gold pine bundle, that will mix up the timings. And then they will start to understand that they cannot predict when you're going to attack, and then they will start to panic roll just by staying near them. So it's kind of a spiral of uncertainty in which you put them, and for me that tends to work really well. Now this exchange right here is where the War Pick really shines. A one-on-one against a weapon that you can poise through. because the host changed it up to the katana, and so now you have a big advantage because you can poise through every attack that he can do. Like here, you see. So this is where the weapon is really strong. The Warpick is really strong. And now Tarrantier took down the second Phantom, and now he's going for the host that just runs away again. So now Tarrantier swaps for the longsword, and roll catching with the longsword is similar than with the Warpick. The idea is always to make them panic roll, and the host panic rolls much more than the other Phantom. Now the host is just running away in order to summon more Phantoms. Other thing that Tarrantier could have done here was to swap for a weapon with better chase down capability. So probably I would advise him to get a heavy infused spear, but I will discuss this in the build part of the video. Now Tarrantier also told me in the email he sent me that he was thinking about using the pickaxe. Now the pickaxe is a bit of a meme weapon. It's like the Warpick's big brother. It has thrust damage, so it also synergizes well with the Leo Ring. It also has galvanize, like the Warpick has, and above all it has great hammer poise. I won't get into a discussion if it's a great axe with a great hammer poise or a great hammer with a great axe moveset. The important thing is that it has great hammer poise. So probably you can easily do a build that can poise through everything except for other great hammers. However, the pickaxe has two big problems. The first of which is its very low range. So you really need to stay in the face of your opponent for the hit to connect. Another problem it has is that the vertical moveset allows only for you to get one opponent at a time, a bit like the Warpick again. So you need to stay in the face of your opponent, and it works well against a single opponent that wants to trade with you. It's clearly a weapon that capitalizes on people not knowing it's a great hammer. So I've done some pickaxe invasions, and the amount of people that try to poise through it or to parry it, it's hilarious. But other than that, it's kind of a really substandard weapon for you to use. I mean, if it's for the fun, go ahead, but you're making your life harder if you go for the pickaxe, no doubt. Tarrantier in the email he sent me also asked me if he should be using firebombs more, and I think he used firebombs adequately. He used them in the plaza in previous engagements, so I think that's okay. Also, firebombs synergize well with the parrying tool for the Barker bomb bait, especially against newer players. And that's something Tarrantier can also add to his game, which is parrying. I know that nowadays people think that parrying is impossible because of latency, but there's various techniques that help you deal with latency and get those parries. And getting parries can often be the difference between winning or losing an invasion. Back to the invasion, the host has now summoned a friendly Phantom, and suddenly they are becoming much more aggressive, which is the norm against several players. They just run away from you all the time, and then when they summon a friend or two, they become very, very aggressive. Now this could be a good time to use some firebombs just to mix things up. And now this guy goes for the Legion etiquette after after running away for half the invasion, so the irony is palpable here. So now they are mustering the courage to come after you again, and this is a good turn and burn. And again, the host is going for the spinny thing, and Tarrantier manages to kill the host. So GG, man. By looking at Tarrantier build, I feel like it's not very flexible for different situations. The longsword and the Warpick kind of overlap in their utility, and so I would not carry both on the same build. That said, if I was against a Great Shield, for example, I would swap the War Pick for the Stance Weapon Art Straight Sword, in order to deal with it. I'm not looking to do a different build, I'm looking to make a build revolving around the War Pick and Poise better. This build only takes advantage of Poise for the War Pick, and because the War Pick has weak hyper armor, as all hammers do, I would also complement the loadout with an Ultra Weapon, dropping some of the excessive Poise this build has to the Poise thresholds necessary to counter other weapons. So we need to use light Ultra Weapons. The Astora Greatsword would be an excellent pick, but the dex requirements are just too high and I don't want to make a whole different build. So for me there are two good options: the Great Wooden Hammer and the Zweihander. I think the Zweihander will look cooler on this build and have better damage and range than the hammer, and have a trusting one-handed R2 that synergizes well with the Leo Ring. An Ultra will allow Tarrantier to deal with several opponents attacking at the same time. The Poise threshold I would use would be of 35.39 in Poise. This Poise value means that you can Poise indefinitely through a Greatsword, halberds, hammers, and all the non-hyper armor weapons with the Zweihander, and through all the non-hyper armor weapons with the War Pick. Fashion is up to you, so I just put the Archdeacon White Crown as a placeholder. So the way to play with this build is to use the War Pick against everything that does not have hyper armor on their two-handed swings, and the Zwei against everything that does. Only Great Hammers are left out of this equation. You will not be able to Poise through those. It's very hard at soul level 56, so you will have to outspace or outmaneuver them. So this concludes today's episode. I hope you found the video useful, and I'll see you soon for the second episode. Raven out.
I write the fact, not fiction. AOF fiction. Sickening. Lyrics dipped in sauce to chips in. All bets off, was off, cruise just to sin. Your plans can't win. Styles raw like land.